Hello, everybody. It's Caroline Trudeau on special assignment with the Woman Automotive Network. We have a special interview today, VIP speakers coming up at our events in 2022. I am here today with Fedra. Hi, Fedra. Thanks for coming.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing super well. It's a beautiful January day in Reston, Virginia. Where are you today? Where are you dialing us in from?
Today I'm in Nice, in the south of France. In my apartment, my home office. So that's where I am today. The sun is shining outside. I see it from the window. I haven't experienced it directly today.
Not been outside yet today, hopefully.
No, I have not.
Working from home, how are you splitting your time? Like what is work like these days for you?
So I have never had, or that I recall in the last 15 years, I've never had this home office, home separation. I've always worked quite a bit from home. The main difference is that I travel internationally much less than I did. So I think in a lot of ways, it brought a balance that I didn't have before.
So true, like a forced balance almost, huh?
Yeah, I know. I have, you can see my closets behind me. I can't tell you how organized they are now.
We're not opening them this morning, don't worry. So before we start to dig in, tell us who you are. What do you do? Where do you work? What's your women in automotive connection?
So who am I? Okay, a lot of different questions. I am originally, I was born in Mozambique. I am Portuguese. I work in automotive for more than 20 years. When it was not cool or fancy. I work today in the cool and fancy team of Mobilize, and I am responsible for the operations group, the delivery machine, essentially.
No big deal.
No detail. Okay, I am married. I do not have children, but I have a niece and a nephew who kind of, I realized I was actually born to be an aunt more than a mom, maybe. So I get to be the cool aunt and then tell my sister and my brother, they are now spoiled, you can take them back.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I have a lot of friends, parents, that's pretty much it. And most of my days it's hard to not think about Mobilize and our project and our aspirations. So that's also a big part of who I am and my identity, my work.
Yeah, and I was reading in our prep that you just had recently, I think last week, a 1-year anniversary, right? Like this is a new role for us.
So the Mobilize team can walk now. We have learned now to stand and walk. and there are a lot of launches this year, so we are very excited. A lot of work from the team. So as a celebration of 1 year, myself and a couple of colleagues have joined the team in the last 2 months. So we feel that we are now beefed up to meet the challenges. And as for Women in Automotive Go, our team is majority female at the leadership level. So our boss, the CEO, is Clotilde Delbos, a lady.
Yep.
And then in my peer group, also most or a big percentage of our colleagues are ladies also. So.
Wow, I didn't know that. Was that by design? Was that part of a plan, or it did just happen that?
No. I just think that the best fit for the roles ended up being women, and that we also have men.
Of course,
So
it's all kinds.
It's a pretty balanced group. The voices are heard equally and evenly. I think more depending on profile and personality than gender.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I as a consultant in my real job, I have seen a shift in just putting the best person to do the work, regardless. Like there's just those boundaries that have been lifted a lot. And I see for the first time, sort of this employee experience concept on the CEO's agenda. Like, how do we create? Yeah, is that something that's also?
Yes, so we are proud in terms of gender diversity to have, if not the highest, one of the highest parity indicators in the industry. So on that sense also, I think the Renault Group broad sense is extremely diverse, and I don't mean only gender diversity, I mean cultural diversity, any kind of diversity is a very welcoming company, and I felt that in the last couple of months. So I do think things are shifting. I think it very leadership and how leadership values a different voice and a different opinion.
So true. It has to be supported by top leadership and be part of the cultural and transitional change that's needed in this time. Yeah, for sure. Well, we're happy to hear that it is a priority for you and that it is making an impact on how you're running your business. It's great to hear these examples. One of the questions I like to ask our guests and our speakers is, you know, the auto industry is so broad and it's so vast, and there's, like you say, it's exciting. There's just a lot of innovation and emerging. It's just like everything is redefining itself. What is the one trend? Like if you have to pick a place that you're really, really interested in, what's the one trend that you're keeping up with?
So I think I'm fascinated by how the second most expensive investment families do becomes lighter in terms of burden to families, becomes more flexible, and becomes more sustainable and environmentally friendly. So for me, these are the three big things that keep me focused and awake. Are how can we make mobility much friendlier towards us and the environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are key priorities to be focused on. I think sustainability is having, you know, really, really large moment, a moment in time. I was even just looking at the use of the word sustainability in common language, some of the studies that are out there as part of a little study program I'm doing at the moment. And yeah, it's really having its hot moment right now. What does it mean to you as a person, as an individual, sustainability?
So for instance, I gave up having a car. So I work in the automotive industry for 20 plus years. I do not own a car. And I do not own a car because I don't need to own a car. There are many options of mobility that serve my specific needs. As we said in the beginning, or as I was sharing in the beginning, I am in Nice today. After this interview, I'll fly to Paris and tomorrow to Zurich, where my main home is. Where would I put the car? Would I need would I add a car to the traffic jams in Paris? I don't necessarily need a car here in Nice, where it's flat and there is a beautiful sea in front of our house. So I've decided that mobility for me means flexibility, means this sense of lightness, and also I don't need to have a vehicle parked in a car park for half of the time, because usage is 10% or 15% of ownership for owning a vehicle. So that's what it means to me. I prefer usage versus ownership, and I prefer to have as easy as possible mobility experience.
I think this is a huge statement. An executive in the automotive business that does not own a car, you are literally leading the way to the transition that is happening right now. I think that's remarkable.
But that transition is not done alone, because my colleagues in the human resources department had to adjust, right? So yeah, no, I don't want a car. What do you mean you don't want a car?
Right.
And so how do you incentivize associates that decide that they don't want to own a car? So I think this transformation is not an individual one. It's really a societal one and a regulation one where all of us are able to essentially live as close to our own potential as we want.
Yeah, I love this thread about HR. It really shows that our behavior is truly integrated into all of the factors that make up our work life, or even just our life in general.
Yeah.
And to be part of the multidimensional activities that are needed in order for this change to really be accepted in society is really important. I love this concept of incentivizing the behavior that that works for me as an individual. We talk a lot about incentivizing moving cars, right? Like moving metal. I'm experiencing in my work now that a lot of incentive, the future of incentive, is really about having potentially a societal movement that allows us to be better collectively for our planet and for whatever sustainability means to each individual. So there's just like a lot of really interesting, cool new definitions of concepts. How is sustainability, what kind of priority is it at work? How is it incorporated in the work that you do?
So in Mobilize, we look at solutions that make mobility sustainable. So it's at the core of the Mobilize promise. We are an activist brand, friendly activist, but still an activist brand that is looking at shifting the behavior of people from the current model into a model that is more sustainable, both for themselves and their environment. So for us, it's at the core, it's everywhere in our portfolio, from energy transition to ownership transition to as a service versus a purchase. So all of our portfolio focuses on this mobility transition.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to encourage all the audience at Women Automotive Summit who are interested in mobility and sustainability to check you out.
Become a mobilizer. That's all
exactly,
we want.
Become a mobilizer.
Exactly. Become a mobilizer.
I'm in. Count me in. So let's talk about the conference a little bit. What drew you to this network and what can we expect to hear you talk about in March?
So I think a bit down the lines of this behavioral shift from ownership to usage, also the role the individual plays and also companies and territories and governments play in supporting this transition. All around vehicle as a service and electrification, the shift towards a software-defined vehicle that will enable all of us to use a car like we use a mobile phone. No difference between first, second, and third living spaces, so home, vehicle, and work. So all of this connection that I think will make our lives way more balanced than it is today, because it's not a seamless experience still. So that's more or less the topic. I will be sharing some of our news, because in March we will have a lot to share. A lot of launches, a lot of very new mobilizing ideas.
This is very exciting. So we can expect some exclusive content for the network, maybe?
Ooh. I think that's kind of on the making.
I am really excited. I can't wait for that. We'll be there tuning in from all over the world. I think it's going to be a great event. Every time it gets bigger and bigger. So it's great to have you and the team as part of the community. Tell me, I love asking these questions about, sort of who inspires you? What woman in your career has been, a tremendous source of support and inspiration?
So who inspires me is my niece.
They're awesome. Nieces are the best. best.
How can a 5-year-old make you think so much? So I do think in the current moment in time, I'm very inspired by the next generation and how roles are being diluted. My niece and my nephew, both of them looking at the world from a completely different perspective that I remember with their age looking, much more outside conventional and traditionally defined roles, and
Yes.
much more looking at how do they explore their potential in a way that is maybe not defined by the book I read from. And then if you ask me career, I reflect a lot about this. There isn't one person, there is a chain of people that in the good and bad moments told me, don't give up, or it's normal to have a bad day, and it's fine to be weird. And all of those people, men and women, I cannot finger point one person. I will say, and I think this sounds like an Oscar speech, but my parents are the responsible ones for all of this, I would say. And of course, my family in general, my husband that has been a partner in this development, but there isn't one person.
Yeah, it takes a tribe. It takes a team. It takes, a unit, a crew. I use these terms to collect people together towards like whatever our goal is at the moment, whether it's a work team, but like it takes a village, I think they say.
It does take a village, and I'm still growing. So I'm still waiting for my childhood to end in that sense. And in that respect, it does take a village or a city.
It does. It really does. And I think, part of what's great is the continuous learning and the continuing need for help that we have, the codependency that we have on each other, especially as women in automotive, working with the men and the others and creating communities that really become these diverse leadership teams that it sounds like y'all have been really successful at creating. Good for you. I always end our VIP interviews with this one question. In one word, so this is a tough question, but in one word, describe what you think the opportunity is for women in automotive.
I would say soaring. I would say really skyrocketing, because compared to when I started, and I know I'll sound like a grandma, I'm still from the time when people would ask me for a coffee because they thought the only place women in the room would be pouring coffee to others. So if I compare that to where we are in the industry today, it's light years.
It's soaring.
It's soaring, and it's still a lot for us all to grow, men and women in the industry.
Yeah, I love this word because it has a visual. It has like this, it has a picture associated with it. And how wonderful is it that in your career, you have, kind of seen both ends and continue to be the one.
I am that ancient.
From the I'm from the 1900s too. So I get it.
Or it has all been so fast that has.
Yeah, keep it snapping and keep it moving. That's for sure. Yeah, soaring is a great word. Well, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're off to the next adventure with Mobilize and the Renault Group. On behalf of everyone at the network, we appreciate your time. Thank you for making it. And we look forward to seeing you and getting some scoop at the March event, Fedra. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Good to see you. Ciao.
Ciao.